Welcome to Parlor Talks. If you're an owner or manager of a label, folding carton, flexible packaging, or corrugated packaging printing company, this podcast is for you. We'll dive into the latest trends, innovations, strategies, and best practices shaping the package printing industry.
Hi everyone, I'm Kaylee Vandewater, Senior Content Editor for Packaging Impressions, and your host for today's episode of Parlor Talks. I'm joined by Haynes, Executive Vice President at All Printing Resources, who was recently inducted into the Flexographic Technical Association's Hall of Fame. Thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate it, and congrats on your induction.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So first of all, for people who might not be familiar with you, could you kind of give us like a brief overview of your career and how you've gotten to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. As you mentioned, Catherine, but a lot of people know me as Kat. I actually started in at Clemson University. So I'm one of the many Clemson grads out there in our industry, and that's really how I discovered printing at all, was through their graphics communication problem. I started out as an architecture student and then went to look for something better suited to what I was interested in, and kind of just stumbled into it. And from there, I ended up working for a wide web printer in Tennessee for a little while and was in the production area. We ran the presses, ran a laminator, managed the press room for a little while, and then migrated into the pre-press area where I managed a group of graphic artists and the pre-press team. So through that, I got a lot of experience in kind of that production environment on both the production side and the press room, and then the graphics side. And from there, I came to work for All Printing Resources, which is where I've spent the bulk of my career. So over the last 25 years approximately, I've been at All Printing Resources and came to them as a technical support person, part of their technical solutions group, to help support more on the pre-press side. They had a pretty strong production technical team. And so I came in with a little bit more pre-press, but still some production background. And from there, it's just kind of evolved over time to, more of a pre-press focus, but still in the press room area. I get into a lot of training as well. So I work with a lot of companies to either train on the products we sell or just general training for press operators or graphic designers or salespeople, whoever, customer service people, whoever they want to do the training for. So it's been a really interesting few years.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of fun.
So over your career, what are some of the biggest changes you've seen in the industry? Anything that you've seen?
Well, certainly technology continues to evolve. And this would echo pretty much any industry, but, it seems to be kind of an exponential change, where we've seen a lot more automation, especially in more recent years. So I think that continues to, help progress flexography. When I started in Flexo, specifically in Flexo, and when I started in print in general, my first few jobs incorporated gravure and offset, and I eventually got into Flexo. I had some Flexo internships as well, but once I got into my professional career, I was in Flexo, and I would say, we've learned a lot. We've learned a lot over the years, and it's gotten so much better. I think suppliers have really done a lot of great work to introduce new technologies and really try to help elevate what Flexo is capable of doing. So today's Flexo is way different than it was, back when I first started 25, 30 years ago. I would have compared it to gravure and offset and thought, yeah, it's kind of a second tier type of printing, but today it's very competitive. So I'm real proud to be part of the Flexo industry. And I think that's one of the things that really appealed to me right from the beginning, is that it was it was a challenging process, and it just felt like you had lots of opportunity to try to make improvements and to try to get better. And so for me, it was just really an interesting print process when I compared it to some of the other production involvement I had had prior to that. So prior to getting into the Flexo side of print. So I think that continues to grow, and of course it's exponential as the years progress, as technology, now we have AI, as that integrates into our processes. I expect it'll continue to just evolve even quicker and get better and better.
Okay, cool. And I know I have questions later on about what you see coming, but that's a great starting point to kind of lead us up to that. But first, I wanted to talk to you about your induction into the FTA Hall of Fame, which is the highest honor the FTA has. And a lot of there's been some coverage of it, and it's basically talking about just how much passion and dedication you have for this industry. So can you tell us a little bit about what this induction means to you, having put so much effort into this industry?
Well, of course, it's a huge honor to get to be recognized for the passion I feel for the industry. I've, been to, goodness, I think every FTA event except maybe two that I've missed in the last 26 years or so. So I've been to a lot of FTAs, and the Hall of Fame has always been a part of that, right? And so seeing people get honored and then hearing their stories and hearing about all the things that they did that you didn't even know that they did. A lot of them, had a huge career. And, I was newer to the industry in my early years. So I didn't even, I wasn't aware of all the things that they had done to help change the industry. And so I've seen that over the course of the year, and then got to know and work with a lot of the people that were inducted, and, did in those cases know how much they had been involved and how much passion they had and everything they put in. So I was inspired by those people and never really set out to want to be in the Hall of Fame. It was just, I was inspired by the people that I saw really, putting that kind of passion into this industry and making a change, making a difference. And so, for me, that just, I wanted to be part of that, right? I wanted to, have some exposure to those people, but also be able to contribute, in any way that I could. And I'm real fortunate because I work for a company that enabled me to do that. Working with David Neiman, he's really great about, giving you that opportunity and welcoming that opportunity to really get involved. And so, having the opportunity to do it, I just thought, why not? And why wouldn't I? And so, yeah, it was a huge honor, not something I set out for, but, I have to say it's weird when you get inducted. At least for me, it was. I can't speak for everybody else, but for me, it was just to be thinking, I mean, I look at the stage of people that have come before me thinking, I don't yet see myself, yet there, but to be considered for it is crazy, exciting. And it was humbling, I have to say. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Um, It's such an exciting honor to get, like to be recognized by your peers and everybody. Eh, so I'm happy for you. Um, but okay, so in terms of the industry today, what kind of trends are you seeing now?
Well, certainly some of the things I mentioned before, just the continued progress towards automation, and
Mhm.
how can we incorporate AI and AI related solutions to help make us better. I think that's certainly a big trend. I think the other thing that I would be remiss if I didn't mention it is just the continued struggle with workforce that seems
Mm.
to persist, and not unique to our industry per se. I mean, that's just kind of like this general challenge everybody's facing with. But those are the two big trends I feel. I have most of my conversations with our customers around is, what do you invest in for the future? And, where can I find people? And how do I get people to stay? So, I know those are a lot of our conversations are circling around that. And of course, you see a lot of that in the FTA as well,
Mhm.
and any other industry related events. That continues to be, two really big focuses. And of course, sustainability is the other, I would say the other big third one. I feel like there's a lot of continued focus and progress towards, trying to be more sustainable and responsible. And I feel like that, continues to push us to innovate in ways that I mean, it's going to make us better, but that's a challenge. But a trend I don't see going away. I feel like that will continue, and it should. I feel like that's an important trend that we should be embracing. And it's good. Flexo is very much a package focused industry. And so, our customers are the ones buying the things out on the shelves. And as long as our customers are focused on things like sustainability, I think that's going to push our industry to figure it out, which
Mhm.
I've been really impressed over the years at seeing how companies like ink companies and substrate companies have really worked to try to create materials that are sustainable, environmentally focused, recyclable, all of those types of things, but also printable, which
Mhm.
is that they always been the hiccup, right? With all of that, it's one thing to make it sustainable; it's a whole nother thing to make it efficient and still be able to get quality products with the
Right.
materials you have to work with. So, yeah, I would say those are probably the three big trends in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think you're hitting the nail on the head there. They're definitely huge right now. So my next question was about biggest challenges we're facing today. Obviously, workforce is one of them, but are there any other ones that come to mind that are um, really like top of mind?
G7 Plus is here, the next evolution in print calibration and color management. Built on the trusted G7 methodology, G7 Plus delivers even greater gray balance accuracy, improved tonality, and optimized color control across all printing technologies. This advanced standard helps reduce waste, improve consistency, and ensure seamless print reproduction. And getting certified has never been easier. Choose from live in-person training, live online training, or on-demand courses to fit your schedule. Printing United Alliance members save 20% on all courses and certifications. Stay ahead of the curve, get G7 Plus certified at printing.org/G7 Plus.
Yeah, I mean, there's the consolidation within the industry that I think is a challenge to navigate. It makes it, challenging for the individual plants. It makes it challenging for the suppliers to those facilities. I feel like that's one challenge beyond the workforce challenge, which I think reigns above all of the big challenges that we have. And then this continued pressure for faster, better, cheaper, that's a model that has never, that's been around since I started in the industry for sure, always faster, better, cheaper. And we always figure out a way to do it faster, better, cheaper. And then the consumer, the print buyers push us again. So, that I think that's where the technology, the innovation, things like AI, I'm hoping and expect to see that those are the solutions that are going to enable us to move in that direction and continue to get better.
Yeah. No, I was just going to mention AI and automation are probably like really good solutions for the getting faster thing.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's definitely what I'm seeing. Okay, that kind of leads us into my next question, which was, where do you think the greatest opportunities lie for converters? I think obviously automation and AI are big ones. I don't know if you want to talk about those some more, or if there's other ones you see out there, other opportunities.
I think companies are really going to have to really start thinking about, what is their future? What does the future of their company look like? What is it 5 years from now and 10 years from now? 30-year projections are fine, but AI and automation and those things are going to change so fast in today's world that, I think we need to be looking a little earlier or a little closer into the future as to what those expectations should be. I think the opportunities are going to be really for companies to be open-minded about, what they can achieve and to be open-minded about how to get there. So some of that's, if you think about the workforce part of it, being open-minded to look inward and kind of reevaluate the way you do things, the way, your onboarding, what does your onboarding experience look like? What does your employee development experience look like? What is the messaging that you're getting out there to the industry about your company and what is the image of your company? So I think companies are really going to need to be looking internally about that to help that'll be a piece of helping them deal with the workforce challenges. But then on the automation side and, where do you even invest? I think that's a big challenge for companies is where do you begin? Where do you invest? You have so much, you have a budget, but that budget is not, you have to focus on, where is that going to go to? So, I think it's going to be being open to really exploring things that may make you uncomfortable. I think AI, for example, makes people uncomfortable, but I don't think it's something you can ignore. And I think it's important to figure out how you can utilize it. And so some of that's just working with partners, right? Like networking, working with your suppliers, participating in events like, the FTA and TLMI and FLAG and some of these other organizations that are trying to, bring people and minds together to help the converters explore, what those opportunities are and what do you invest in? What is the next thing? One of the other things we haven't really talked about is the whole digital hybrid press, and that what that evolution looks like in the future. And I expect that'll, have some influences too. And you got to figure out is the market you're in today the market that you need to be in the future? Do you need to diversify or consolidate or change complete direction into a new path in order to stay relevant.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. And I think that we're really like feeding into each other's answers to the questions. But I want to know, like, when you look 5 years into the future, what does this industry look like? Because I think we've talked a lot about like the trends leading up to the future, but what do you think it's gonna be like 5 years from now?
It would it would be so much easier 10 years ago to have had a crystal ball, but man, AI has thrown a wrench into any sort of crystal ball projections, because 5 years is like 50 years in AI time, right? So
Yeah.
I just feel like things are going to happen so fast. What I hope and what I expect, a lot of the conversations that I'm seeing in the various events that I'm attending and networking conversations that I'm having and all is, like, how do we utilize AI? I don't think that that's going to continue for much longer. I think our suppliers, our manufacturers in the industry are really trying to make strong headway in dialing that in and creating solutions. I just think it's going to be a matter of companies figuring out, what do you invest in, and then taking the leap. So I feel like it'll be less of a conversation about what it is and how it might work for you and what it might do for you, to this is, now it's part of us, right? Like, it's just going to be integrated into the way we do things. It's not going to be, it's going to be like GPS was, I mean, I remember having maps, like a physical map, but I can't even envision a map today. Now it's hard for me to think back before I had GPS just on my phone. Like, I remember having to carry around those first GPSs. I had to pack it in my bag, and then all of a sudden it was on my phone, and it was just so accessible. And same thing like with the phone itself. It just, like, I can't imagine that time before. And I feel like within 5 years, that's where we'll be with AI. We won't even be able to imagine a time when we didn't have all of that available to us, and it wasn't, the way that it is now. So I feel like, and I just feel like, AI is going to have that kind of an impact where it's going to be overwhelmingly helpful, and it just changing our perception of what we're capable of doing completely. So I'm excited for AI specifically, and how that can be incorporated into our daily lives, and then of course within our industry. And I expect there'll continue to be things like consolidation. We'll continue to see those types of companies being absorbed in with other companies. I don't think that's going to go away. I do feel like companies are getting better at figuring out how to structure, and incorporate things like process control and those types of methodologies that help make them better and stronger. So I think, we'll just continue to see companies thrive in being able to adopt, good processes and practices and things that are going to enable them to continue to be successful into the future. And a lot of that's going to be through just the technology innovations that our suppliers are coming out with, but also companies having to really refocus on, who they are, what their identity is, so that they can attract the right workforce, so that they can, be successful and continue to thrive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome. So Cap, that was all my questions for you. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me.
Yeah.
It was great to hear more about your career and your insights on the industry. And obviously your induction. It's great to do a little celebration. But thanks so much, and I hope to talk again soon.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.